Guilty pleasures. We've all got them. Two of mine are staying up way past my bedtime to record videos about YNAB and watching Caleb Hammer's financial audit show, which lately has veered more into the realm of being a drama show than a personal finance show, so not really sure how to feel about that. But a while back, I was really into it. So much so that when Caleb Hammer launched a budgeting app called DollarWise, I joined the Founders 500 Club, which came with this really cool metal card, which is, whoa, that's really shiny and hard to see. Very fancy. And it came with a lifetime membership to the DollarWise app. So yeah, as a card-carrying member of the DollarWise app, imagine my shock when I heard Caleb call out YNAB by name in one of his DollarWise ads. I was just at the park throwing the ball for my dog, and I literally had to stop and rewind it to make sure I heard it correctly. Talking about other budgeting apps, here's exactly what Caleb said word for word. You start with the classic one, YNAB, but everyone just deletes it because it's way too complicated to use. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be deleting YNAB despite owning lifetime access to DollarWise, but here's the part I couldn't quite shake. Last time I checked, I had about 80 categories or so in my YNAB plan, and over 20 of those categories were for various individual subscriptions. Yeah, like 20 categories just for subscriptions. And that made me wonder if I'm overthinking my personal finances. Caleb says everyone's deleting YNAB because it's too complicated to use, so I'm going to build a YNAB plan that is so simple that I delete it because I need it to be more complicated. You follow that? So as you can see here, DollarWise is roughly based on the 50-30-20 budgeting rule of thumb, which is where you're supposed to spend about 50% of your income on your needs, 30% on your wants, and 20% for savings. So I'm going to jump over to YNAB and create this system to the best of my ability right here in front of you without much editing. So wish me luck. And for this to work, here's what I need it to do. First, it has to follow the 50-30-20 rule of thumb. Second, it has to let me quickly sort transactions into one of those three buckets. And third, it needs to use my estimated monthly income so I know how much I'm planning to spend in each bucket. And there's one big restriction here, which is that YNAB only lets you budget money you already have. So we're going to be working with that as well. So yeah, let's jump into YNAB and see if I can build a functioning version of this. All right, so since we're starting from scratch with a new plan, we'll go ahead and click New, and we'll call this 50-30-20. Okay, let's get started by personalizing our plan. And this is where it's going to have us choose our categories and stuff like that. But for the purposes of this very simple setup, we're going to delete them all. Just like that. And because YNAB requires you to have at least one category group, we're going to create one called All I Ever Wanted. And we're going to add our three categories for 50-30-20 setup. And because it adds them in kind of reverse order, so we're going to start with savings, which will be 20%. Then we're going to go ahead and add our wants. And finally, our needs, just like that. And in this example, we're going to say that our monthly expected income is going to be $10,000 to make it easy. We're also getting this little prompt here that says, help YNAB make your plan by adding targets. Now, I've crashed out about targets in other videos, but in this case, it's going to be pretty simple because if our expected monthly income is $10,000 and we're following 50-30-20, we can just set targets for $5,000 for needs. I'm going to say I want to have this target ready to go on the first of the month because I intend to get a month ahead. But you could make it any day of the month or the last day of the month or whatever you want, or skip targets entirely. But one of our requirements is that we have to follow 50-30-20 in this example. So let's go ahead and add $3,000 on the first day of the month as part of our plan for wants. And of course, $2,000 to put towards savings type things. Boom. Our planned targets match our expected monthly income. Let's go ahead and click the checkbox. Next, we're going to add accounts. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to add an unlinked account and make it a checking account. Keep things simple. And we'll throw in a starting balance of, say, $5,000. Nice accounting. YNAB always has their little sense of humor. Following the checklist here, we're going to go ahead and click continue. And here's where we're going to answer the question, how much money do we have? $5,000. And what is this money for? Now, I haven't imported any transactions yet. I'll do that in a second. But first, since we have $5,000 and my top priority is needs, I'm going to go ahead and assign all of that $5,000 into my needs category. Boom. And we have completed the initial setup. Now, we're not quite done yet. If I were using YNAB in real life, I would have linked a real bank account and it would be importing transactions. So I'm going to hop over real quick to the desktop app and I'm going to import a month's worth of transactions into this plan so we could test it further. Okay, now you can see that I've uploaded my sample data. This is about 1 month's worth of income and expenses. So the first order of business is, of course, to categorize and approve these new transactions that have just come in. I will fast forward or edit out most of this, but I kind of want to show you how easy it is to do in this 50-30-20 setup. So vet, that's going to be a need. Great Clips, needs. DoorDash, oh baby, that's a want. Local brewery, I'm going to say a want as well. Doctor, needs. Youth soccer league, wants. Depends on your situation and depends on your priorities. But Trader Joe's, let's see, 2 weeks of dinners, produce, and snacks. We'll go ahead and put that under needs. Target. Well, it was for laundry detergent and dryer sheets, allegedly. So we're going to go needs there. Chipotle, for me, dining out is usually a want. Midtown Auto, front brake and rotors. Boo. That's going to be a need. Delta Airlines, baby. That's a want. We're going to travel. Student loan payment, needs. You get the idea, right? Now, what I'm not seeing a lot of in here is savings. We'll get to that in a minute. Let me finish categorizing these transactions. Okay, so that took about 3 minutes for me to run through and categorize the rest of the entire month's worth of transactions into one of these 3 categories. Now you'll see that we have some overspent categories, and I think the reason for that is simply that we didn't account for our new income this month. We didn't assign it into a category yet. So let's go ahead and take care of that now. So we're just going to assign the amount that we set out to in our initial plan with our targets, right? So we want to fund 5,000 into needs, 3,000 into wants, and 2,000 into savings. Boom. Now let's jump over into our plan and see how we're tracking. Well, interestingly, we've spent more than $5,000 on our needs this month. Another interesting thing is because we started with a balance of $5,000 in our account, we earned $10,000 this month, and we didn't spend $10,000 this month. We have some money left over. And so we could either apply that to one of these 3 categories, but we're kind of overspent already on our needs this month, and the month is almost over. So let's go ahead and instead assign this into a future month so we can start preparing. And to do that, I'm just going to hit ready to assign, and I'm going to auto assign because we set those targets. And it will note that we don't have enough money to fully fund next month, so we can just apply partial funding, and it will put that towards next month's needs. Okay, let's jump back to today. So I think we've already pretty much met the 3 requirements we set out to achieve, which is 1, we set up a YNAB plan that follows the 50-30-20 rule of thumb. We saw that it lets us quickly sort transactions into one of those 3 buckets. And we were able to use our estimated monthly income, which you can see down here on your homepage, to know how much we're planning to spend in each bucket. There's something else pretty cool that we can do here though, which is see how we're doing, right? So if you go on over here to the Reflect tab and we're looking at the current month, we can see so far we've spent $8,723. Okay, how are we tracking? We can see that 86% of our spending has been on needs and 14% has been on wants. So I will say that the data that I imported was just sample data, but if this were real data, this would be an interesting signal to me because I would want to know, is this a typical month? Am I always spending 86% of my income on my needs and only 14% on my wants? And I haven't set anything aside for savings yet. And as you go on and as you use YNAB for more time, you can view different time horizons. Right now, we're just looking at a single month. You know, we can look at 3 months, we can look at 6 months, 12 months, year to date, last year, and all time. So I'd say that was a success. We built a YNAB plan with 3 categories for our needs, our wants, and our savings. It follows 50-30-20. I can quickly sort transactions into the 3 buckets, and it uses my estimated monthly income to tell me what I'm planning to spend. But the question I actually started with was, am I overthinking my personal finances by having more categories? So I find myself wondering as I look at this, is 3 buckets enough? And for me, surprise, surprise, I don't think so. But that's my answer. So if you're wondering how many categories you actually need for your plan, you can watch this video next.